Hi and Assalamualaikum to everyone. My name is Muhammad Ashraf Hadi Rosman. In this video, I would like to share with you guys about COVID-19. And don't forget, this video only purpose for our case study in MIC531 that be given by Dr. Hana. Firstly, as we know, we are currently facing the disease called COVID-19. COVID-19's names come from word CO for corona. VI is for virus and D is for disease, and 19 is for 2019. That's why it's called COVID-19. Coronavirus are named for the crown-like spikes on their surface and belong to the family Coronavidae within the order of Nidovirales. Member of this large family of virus can cause respiratory, enteric, hepatitis, and neurological disease in broad group of animals, including humans, camels, cattle, bats, birds, snake, mice, and other wild animals. Since the mid-1960s, 7 species has been identified as human coronavirus (HCOVs). Next, we go to the causative agent of the COVID-19. Chinese scientists discover a new strain of coronavirus that is apparently and genetically different from previous known strain of famous coronavirus like SARS or MERS. The virus of the new virus COVID-19 was much greater than either the MERS or SARS. 3 species of beta coronavirus that cause outbreak of deadly pneumonia in humans since the beginning of the 21st century. Hence, for overall causative agent, a novel beta coronavirus, which is SARS-CoV-2, had been identified to cause this outbreak. Its single-stranded RNA genome contains 29,891 nucleotides, encoding for 9860 amino acids. Although its origins are not entirely understood, this genome analysis suggests that SARS-CoV-2 probably evolved from a strain found in bats. The genome sequence of SARS-CoV-2 is about 89% identical to bat SARS-like CoV-ZXC and 82% identical to human SARS-CoV. The severity of disease is most often an important indirect factor in a virus' ability to spread. Previous studies have shown that SARS-CoV mutate over the 2002 to 2004 epidemics to better bind its cellular receptor and replication in human cells, enhancing virulence. Moreover, coronavirus has error-prone RNA-dependent RNA polymerase mutation. An event frequently occurs, resulting in quasi-species diversity that is closely associated with adaptive evolution and the capacity to cause disease. SARS-CoV-2 spreads mostly from person to person through close contacts or from droplets that are scattered when a person with the virus sneezes or coughs. Next, we go to pandemic factor. The risk factor of this COVID-19 appear to include the recent travel from or resident in an area with ongoing communities, such as from Wuhan, China, to other countries spread of COVID-19 as determined by CDC and WHO. Another factor is close contact within 6 feet or 2 meters with someone who has COVID-19 for more than 5 minutes or been caught or sneezing on by an infected person. Other than that, being exposed to the high concentration of the virus might also be the factor of this pandemics, which may lead to a person to more severe illness. The more virus you are exposed to, the more likely the person are going to replicate highest level of virus in the body. Lastly, age 3, when namely the older people are clearly at risk. According to the journal Lancet Infectious Disease published the latest estimate of death rate of COVID-19, the paper found that globally the case fatality rate for those aged at 60 was 1.4%, and for those over 60 the fatality rate jumps to 4.5%. The older the population, the highest rate of the fatality. For those 80 and over, COVID-19 appear to have a 13.4 fatality rate. And next, we will discuss the global crisis due to the COVID-19. The pandemic brings with among the greatest health, economy and social shock of 21st century global crisis. Firstly, in health, the COVID-19 crisis have embarked the weakness in our healthcare system from the number of intensive beds to the size of the workforce. Also, the inability to provide enough masks, conducting testing in some countries, and deficiency on research for and supply of drug and vaccine also have become such a problematic during emergency situation. Besides that, the outbreak affects all the segments of the population and is particularly causing harm to members of those social groups in the most vulnerable situation. This matter continues to affect population, including people living in poverty situation, older person with disability, youth, and indigenous people. Early evidence indicate that the health and economic impact of the virus are being borne disproportionately by poor people. For example, for homeless people, they may be unable to safely shelter in place, are highly exposed to the danger of the virus. Lastly, the pandemic itself brings the huge hit on global economy. For example, world topmost economies such as UK, China, US, Germany, France, Japan, and many other at the verge of collapse. Next, we go to the current medication and preventive measures. There are various medications had been tried and error in many countries that have been affected by this pandemic. Let me take 3 highlight countries for this discussion, which is China, Malaysia, and Spain. Firstly, let me explain in Hubei, China. At least 95% of COVID-19 patients treated using traditional Chinese medicine in Hubei province. China has recovered from the disease. For example, the traditional drugs was constantly reviewed on its effectiveness. Various drugs, including the vaccine, are used to treat the severe acute respiratory syndrome in 2003 and the Middle East respiratory syndrome coronavirus in 2012 also have been used for these treatments. While in Spain, research at the Institute of Bioengineering of Catalonia, which is IBEC, together with the international collaboration from Canada, Sweden, and Germany, have identified a drug capable of blocking the effect of the novel coronavirus, which is called APN-01, already existed as it had been developed for the SARS epidemic in 2003. SARS was caused by coronavirus very similar to the one behind the current COVID-19 pandemic. Lastly, for treatment of COVID-19 in Malaysia, this is what we're waiting for, right? Drugs such as chloroquine or hydrochloroquine and a combination of lopinavir or ritonavir had been used to treat the virus. Malaysians also have been seen trying on antiviral drugs. Remdesivir has been used to treat COVID-19 patients and making an effort to import antigen rapid test kit from South Korea for the disease diagnosis. Lastly, before I close our discussion, I will explain to you the future prevention. It's an effort to find a cure against coronavirus. Many research and finding has been accelerated in developing a new vaccines. For example, biotech company is making an effort of producing vaccine. The drug maker Moderna said yearly data from a small clinical trial show people given potential vaccine develop antibody against the virus. They all develop antibody at level that reach or exceeded those seen in people who have recovered from the COVID-19. Other than that, future prevention that will be made by constantly practicing proper hygiene, social distancing and practice the new norm upon the pandemic have been said to be settled down. By the development of vaccine against coronavirus, Team Sheehan, a coronavirus research at University of North Carolina, Gilling Schools of Global Public Health, believe everyone by time they reach adulthood should have some immunity to some coronavirus, but it does not last. Other people can get reinfected. The elderly also have the highest death rate from the coronavirus, such as MERS and MERS. A pattern 2019 COVID is following. Okay, that's all from me. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry if there are any mistake in my video. I will keep improving my video makings. I hope you guys enjoy it. Please hit the like button and subscribe my channel. Thank you.